Hello Mr. Arif, Mr. Stu, and Mrs. Emma. Today we from Parallel Class A Group 2 will be presenting about isolation of clove oil from cloves and analyze using thin layer chromatography. My name is Theofilus Pranata and with my friend here is Alvin, Reinaldo, WIbawa. Now to start off, we first need to know the objective. The objective is to study isolation method of clove oil from clove with steam distillation and study of thin layer chromatography. And then for the base theory, we have here is clove. Clove are the dried buds of Eugenia caryophyllata that is commonly used as spices. A good buds usually have around 15% of clove oil. And eugenol is a major component of clove oil. This substance is semipolar, but it is closer to nonpolar. For the extraction is a process to transfer substance from an initial phase to final phase. There are two methods of extractions: solid-liquid extractions and liquid-liquid extractions. In this practicum, we use both of these. For the solid-liquid extraction is steam distillations, and the liquid-liquid extractions is at the separatory funnel. Now, meanwhile, distillation is a process of separating substance with different boiling point. There are lots of types of distillations, and there are some that is usually used. For example, simple distillations, fractional distillations, vacuum distillations, azeotropic distillation, and steam distillations. There are each of its unique. For example, the simple distillations used to separate two compounds in mixtures, while these fractional distillations used to separate three or more compounds, while the vacuum distillations is usually used to separate mixtures that can't handle the high temperature. And our focus here is at the steam distillations. Steam distillations is suitable for compounds that are poorly soluble in water and have a very high boiling point. This method is also used to separate solvent from solids that do not react. Chromatography is a technique of separations that are usually and commonly used to determine mixtures compositions or detect its purity based on a polarity similarity of a sample and the phase. And in chromatography, we have two phases. One is mobile phase and the second is stationary phase. There are few commonly used chromatography, such as gas chromatography and high-performing liquid chromatography, and the last is thin layer chromatography. In thin layer chromatography, the sample is put on the layer, or we say stationary phase, and absorbed by the layer using electrostatic force. And then the layer's corner is put into a solvent that will be a mobile phase. And after a few moments, the components will have a different travel distance to compare. In the comparisons, we use retardation factor, and that is by dividing the distance traveled by the compound by the distance traveled by the solvent. And now for the materials and equipment, here we have our materials that we will be using, and the silica paper is for the thin layer chromatography. And then here's the equipment. In thin layer chromatography, we will be using the Alvin chamber. Okay, now the procedure. Here we have two parts. One is clove oil isolation, and the second part is the TLC, or thin layer chromatography. So the main thing about isolations is steam distillation, and then we separate the mixtures by the separative funnel, and then we use the mixtures, and then we evaporate the methylene chloride in fume hood using hot plate stirrer, and then we weigh the clove oil we get, and then we can calculate the percentage of clove oil in cloves. And then for the thin layer chromatography analysis, we put a mixture of hexane and dichloromethane as a mobile phase, and then we draw a line using pencil at the TLC strip, and then we put it the drips of clove oil and acetyl eugenol, and then we drip it to the mobile phase, and then wait, and then we dry the strip, and then we put under the UV lamp, and then we can mark the points that is above the spotting line. Okay, so now we have the data. The data we have is weight, clove mass, and then the beaker glass and clove oil plus beaker glass. That is to find the clove oil mass. And then we have also the refractive index. And then we also will have the data from the TLC. Okay, here we can calculate the oil content and yield percentage, the purity using refractive index, and then we can calculate also the purity using thin layer chromatography. And here we calculate the retention factor, and then we compare it to know the purity.
And then we move to the discussion. In this experiment, there are two major focus. The first is clove oil isolation from clove sample and examining the purity of clove oil using TLC or thin layer chromatography. Okay, first we extract clove oil from clove using steam distillation equipped with dropping funnel, condenser, and air heater. Dropping funnel is filled with water to maintain the solvent. Condenser is used to condensate the clove oil steam into the liquid form so it will fall to the thin star trap. Air heater is used because this heating process needs high temperature due to the rise of the mixture's boiling point. Water heater is an option because its temperature won't be enough to boil the mixture. After 3 hours of heating process, the distillate mixture that contains water and clove oil is cast into separatory funnel and add dimethyl chloride. Dimethyl chloride is used to dissolve clove oil by the similar polarity. After shaking the funnel, two layers will be formed. The clove oil and dimethyl chloride mixture have smaller mass density compared to water, so it will be on the top layer. And then we evaporate the dimethyl chloride to get the pure clove oil. Apart from using refractometer, we also use the thin layer chromatography to examine the clove oil's purity. First, we pour the dimethyl chloride and hexane mixture into the chamber with 2:1 ratio for the mobile phase. And then we drip the eugenol and clove oil at the line. The line is 1.5 cm from end of the strip. And then we wait 20 minutes and observe the travel distance using UV light. Finally, we calculate the retardation factor and its purity. The final product, the sample contains 10.578% clove oil rate with 70.562 yield. The clove oil that we got have 95.844% purity if test using refractometer and 97.23% using thin layer chromatography. Okay, for the conclusion, clove oil can be found in almost every part of the clove, with eugenol as its primary compound. To get clove oil extract, there are several methods that can be used. One of them is using steam distillation and liquid-liquid extraction. To check the purity of clove oil, we can use refractometer and thin layer chromatography.
Thank you for listening.